This computer. Okay, hello and welcome to the Parent Advocate Network, hosted by myself, Lyra, um, for the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, which is a lot of people across the country and around the world. We're all just coming here to bring education to the public and help bring families back together, reunite children with their parents who have been wrongfully taken, and also to promote more community involvement in the support and structure of our families all over. And we appreciate you joining us tonight, and we have been discussing some of the personal issues surrounding the movement, the family rights movement today. We're talking about structure here and how everybody seems to be having ideas about structure, but we're having a lot of personal conflict get in the way of the family rights movement that we're here to unite and bring everybody talents and advocacy together, because we can all work together on this. We all have a part to play here, and so I think that part of this has to do with structuring, that we maybe need to look into putting together, as Marge had been talking about last week, about putting a plan together. And I have been talking to people about this, but have not been able to spend a lot of energy on it just recently because of our upcoming event, which is tomorrow, and we're talking about that. And Tom is here, and Kelly is here, and Tom, you're in Georgia, correct?
Yes, I am down here in Georgia for the Nancy Schaefer rally down here in Georgia.
And I'm heading out the door at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to Sacramento for the Nancy Schaefer Vigil and education that we're going to be doing there at the Capitol. So this is really exciting. We're going to be at Sacramento State Capitol, California, at 10 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon. How about you? When are you getting there?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm already here in Georgia. We've been here since Thursday.
Oh wow!
It was an 18-hour drive. So
that's a lot longer than I'm going to be driving. I have 4 hours drive, pretty much.
If we have a charger, I'll just be on this call though.
Yeah, I've got a charger.
All right, sorry. They wanted me to go along with them, so I'm going to go along with them. But I wanted to let them know that I'm on the phone too. So.
Okay. Well, hopefully you won't cut out when you're walking through. So what time is the event in Georgia starting?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yep, 10 to 5. And then after that, we're going to turn around and we'll be driving 18 hours back and to D.C. to attend D.C.'s on Monday.
Wow. Wow, you have a lot of driving ahead of you.
Yeah. I know when I came down, we were supposed to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, but we had some issues there. I ended up staying up like 2 days with about 5 hours of sleep just to make sure I was ready. And don't help when I had energy drinks and motivation to want to be here. So it's amazing what anybody can do when they put their minds to it.
Yeah, I know. And then we have on the other end of the spectrum some problems with some people who are not as they appear to be. And so, we want to make sure that, when we go to these events, we can actually meet these people in person, because face-to-face contact, I believe, is extremely important. And
it is. I will agree. Even being here with some of the people that I didn't see eye to eye over a computer. People think, just because you don't see eye to eye or get along eye to eye with somebody over a computer. When you're talking to somebody over a computer, we take things and you miss things behind a computer screen.
Yeah.
And even the people that I have seen or wasn't seeing eye to eye with on a computer, and when I saw them in person up here, it's totally different. I'm gonna grab the key. It's totally different, and there was no difference. It's the way we word or understand things that's we gotta sometimes put it to the side, or if we don't know, ask questions, don't assume.
Right. Right. Yeah. Not good to assume.
Because really, all that does is make, I'm not going to say the rest, but there's a saying, it makes a what out of you and me.
You're starting to cut out there again, Tom. Kelly, do you have anything you wanted to add to this?
No, not really. All I was gonna say is I know the story. I know the story of Nancy Schaefer, but I know we're not going any place. But I wish we were, but well, because we don't have any. I don't have a car right now, so yeah.
Well, you can join us virtually as we're going to have apparently some live feeds on both ends, I'm hoping, crossing my fingers.
Right.
And so it'll be exciting. I haven't met anybody yet, but I'm expected to be able to get there and meet them all. I mean, I met them online and in our chat rooms, but this will be a really great, one-on-one type. And we have another attendee joining us this evening. Hello, welcome. Who's this? Crystal? Hello.
Hi, Lyra. It's Veronica.
It's Lyra. Hi, Veronica.
Lyra, sorry.
That's all right. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We have been talking about differences of opinions and how they can sometimes get in the way, and personal agendas can also cause friction in what we believe is a movement of bringing family rights back to our country, bringing equal rights for all families, all over this country, and how that, I think, trumps anything else that might be going on. And it, like I said in the chat, if you're not here for the children, what are you doing here? We're not here for ourselves. Right. We're here for our children, for the love of our children. And, people will have differences of opinions. I feel that also there has been a little bit of miscommunication on the chat network. People are not reading the full conversation before joining in with their opinion, or jumping to conclusions. And Tom was just saying that just makes when we assume, that just makes, right, Tom?
Things even worse.
Yep. and that goes to say with because Veronica, and I thank you for understanding, because that goes to show, because it was actually you and I that somebody had made was making a big deal out of the whole conversation. I'm not sure if you've read it, with the email differences between you and I and the similarity, and kind of blew it out of proportion as I was attacking. And in reality, I wasn't. I was just kind of making the awareness to you that there was similarity, and it was only there because, if word forbid they would do a wrong email, a letter difference, it can go out of my email to you or vice versa.
Tom, I think maybe if you didn't yell into your phone, we could hear you without the static. I don't think you have to speak as loudly. We have another attendee waiting.
That's some.
If I could ask everybody to please mute themselves when they are joining us and when they are not speaking, let's try to keep this room clear and everybody get a turn to speak, please. And, no swearing, all right? That's one of our big rules here. Thank you very much. And Veronica, I believe you wanted to say something.
I guess Tom left the meeting.
No, he didn't. It was just probably a cutoff, and he'll come right back. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing, Veronica?
I've been helping quite a few different parents, and I have to, after Sunday, I got to work on my case because I talked to my boys and they begged me to get him home as soon as possible.
Yes, well, I'm glad to hear that they want to come home, and you know the steps to take, right?
Well, yeah. Well, they're with their dad. So I had a fraud divorce. And he was dumb enough to use this old DIFUS case. I said, what are you doing? Do you know what you're doing to our kids? And on July 7th, this judge was dumb enough to tell me to go ask my family members what I must do, who were attorneys. I said, oh, I don't have to. You want to know?
What?
I told her, jurisdiction, because I'm not a resident. I said she couldn't tell me or my children what to do. We weren't working with DCP&P. I said you were dumb enough to send them to try to remove my boys. I said, and the woman told me to call my sister, and I told her it wasn't wasting my time. I said, my brother was a lawyer here in New Jersey, but he gave up his practice because how corrupt the courthouse became. I said, my sister worked as a lawyer for CPS for 8 years until they wanted her to break her oath. Won the case the legal way, and in the end, she was let go for insubordination. She now has her own law firm and goes after them for parents and children who were abused in the system. She hasn't lost the case yet.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but now I'm working on my fraud and I'm working on my color of law and to go after the judges and everything. And I told everyone's like, I said, nobody's seeing it until the paperwork's done, it's approved, and then you can see the copies. I don't want anybody to see it until I make sure it's done properly.
Well, yeah.
One woman, Wilma Heading.
Wilmina, yeah.
Her and I go at it all the time. Judges are immune. No, they're not.
They're not, no, and we've had her on this show and have shared the law where they are not immune, and in fact, I have some evidence that came from Fernando Cook Morales that he provided proof from the Attorney General in DC that all employees of the government are to follow the law and uphold the law in all sectors. And this is like the golden goose or the golden egg from the goose,
He's like, well, we the people, when Sue B was on court, I said, no, Sue B came to me and I'm giving Sue B paperwork so she doesn't go to jail.
Right.
Maybe we think we the people, but she came to me for paperwork and I'm not letting her go to jail.
No, right. That's great.
Yeah, so, but I've got all kinds of paperwork. I got fraud on the court for the marriage, know your rights, case law for appeals, the freedom document, treaties of arrest, and Kurt was reading it the other night. He's like, "Do you know you can only be arrested for all the?" He goes, "You can be arrested for an abortion." I said, "Not anymore."
Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe people could be arrested. That doesn't sound right.
Now, Ivan Garcia just got a letter from Donald Trump.
Hmm.
Okay. And he said, right now, we just had a mass shooting. I said, well, he's not going to be happy to get my letter. I'm going to let him know that the boy that did the mass shooting was a ward of the state. He was adopted. His adopted parents died. Florida should have taken care of him. He should have been in a mental institute in 2016. They didn't pick up their slack. Instead, they washed their hands. They already made their profit off of him. So it's their fault.
Hmm. Well,
So,
I'm glad to hear that you know these things are coming to fruition and we get more and more support from even the president, you know, and the attorney general, you know. This is important stuff.
yeah, so I was thinking if we can write up a short story of what's happened to our families, attaching a picture.
Yes, and I sent one of those to Donald Trump, and I know that a lot of people have been doing that.
Now I want to send it to. I want to start sending it to every newspaper in your state, every news station in your state. I want to do it in my state. Because this way we start getting more public attention.
Well, I think that people need to be cautious as to what information they divulge to the public at this time. I mean, there's still
but not everything. But you know what I mean? My children were kidnapped. It took me such and such a long time. And I've got like their records from when Perform came out about how traumatized they were. My boys were disabled, like from birth and all. And the state was in my home. They in New Jersey, kidnapping is 25 years imprisonment
wow.
minimum. So I got that law written up and everything. And I actually have I'll have to email it to you. All the federal codes for like 1983 under color of law and everything. I have them all. I have 200 pages.
So what I'm sharing here at this point is because we're talking about writing up little stories and taking them to the public newspapers and other public media formats, is that there's also Anonymous versus DCS page, CPS DCS page for parents who have been violated, have their civil rights violated by any person in CPS involvement cases. At this point, it's just CPS, DCS in the United States. Some people have asked if there was some other plans, and that is for future. But at this time, we're working here in the United States on getting together people's damage claims and putting together actions in each state, and there will be follow-up and continued work towards bringing justice to families all over the nation. And so you can send an email to this page. The email goes to a private server, and it is a protected server, so your information will remain confidential. Again, that is Anonymous versus CPS, DCS, and it's on Facebook.
Okay, do you know about Kentucky? Calling? They called Nancy Barton, okay, and they gave a phone number. And another thing, for anybody who's had their child stolen or kidnapped, for parents to call, they want to help them.
Okay, well, there's a good contact. We'll get more information from you after the show. Can you send us the links for that, and we'll get those on the
My mom
page?
brings stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because she posted it and then posted it on my timeline, so I want to let everybody know.
All right. You tag me in that post. I'll make sure to have it published everywhere I can, okay?
Everywhere I can.
That sounds good. Thank you, Veronica. Scott, I wanted to welcome you into this program. How are you doing this evening? Let me unmute you.
Oh, I'm doing fine.
Welcome
Glad,
to tonight's meeting. I'm glad you could make it.
glad to be here.
Well, so what's going on with you? Getting any parents back and reunited with their children recently?
Oh, I kind of caught me off guard. um, yeah, I don't really know what to say tonight. Always working with families in one way or another, you know. Um, but nothing comes to mind right away this evening.
All right, I apologize. I didn't mean to catch you off guard like that, Scott.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you
All right, again, everybody needs to mute themselves when they are not speaking. I know Scott was trying to talk, but Veronica, is there any way you can mute your video, your audio? That takes away the video. All right, well, I guess then what I was just talking about earlier was that we want to be focusing on the families, and we're coming up tomorrow in Sacramento to the vigil for Nancy Schaefer, who was a wonderful family rights, parent rights advocate, and she died in 2010. It was a very tragic death, and we are having a vigil in her name. She was very instrumental in exposing the corruption in CPS, DCS, and it is tragic that she no longer is with us. And I'm going to be going to Sacramento. I'm leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning, or 5. It's really early. So this is the vigil, and we're having it again in Sacramento and other places around the country, Georgia and Washington, D.C. for Georgia, and for us here in California. This will be our first event, and we're hoping for the best. So yes, in memory of a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman advocate for the family rights movement and fighting against the corruption in CPS and other social services sectors that harm families everywhere. Hello, Marge. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Both of us have been fighting and not illnesses, so.
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, I hope that you get better soon.
Yeah.
I've been having feeling nervous breakdowns every now and then, so it's hard.
Well, whenever I feel very much of anxiety, I like to close my eyes and listen to some soothing music, or go outside and listen to nature. It helps me to ground myself so that I don't, because I mean, if I get too much anxiety, I will start shaking uncontrollably and go into spasms or seizures. And, you know, we don't want anybody to be having health issues because of the horrible.
I was like crying a lot, like off and on today, and then yesterday, and then like a couple of days ago. It's like, I'm missing a lot my son, and plus I'm worried about my mom too. So with her health problems too. So.
Well,
Here's
do you go?
Here's a suggestion. Get a notebook. Write down your feelings. Write your son a note so he knows how you feel while he's not with you.
Okay.
And when you get him back, you'll have all these notes.
Okay, I can do that.
That he can read when he gets older.
Okay, so that's a good idea.
And anybody that's made you mad, you write them that nasty note, put it away, don't mail it. But it lets out a lot of anger and a lot of anxiety. That's how I get away. That's how I do it.
Okay.
Some people crumble them up into little balls and burn them so that the anger just goes out into the it's no longer necessary.
Right.
Releasing it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was wondering, okay, I've been looking for and trying to find the legality of forced adoptions. There have been a lot of parents on Facebook, particularly grandmothers, who are struggling with this. And of course, we are too, but the thing I want to know is, okay, if you go back to when they were taken, child was taken, were they taken legally? If they weren't, what does that do to everything? If the termination of parental rights were not voluntary, then what does that do to the legality? And I just feel like we need to get out to the public, not to give up, and definitely don't take adoption by force as look at as the end. Fight for your kids and fight for them continually, but I think people are needing help in knowing what steps to look for in order to understand whether their situation is adoption was legal. But I'm looking for a place where, or a law or something that says this isn't legal. You can't adopt if the parents did not willingly give their permission. You can't adopt if the child is not legally belong to in the custody of DFS. And that's my concern right now.
I can answer that because I just did research on this for Michigan and Arkansas. Okay. Mother must give consent. Okay. If there was no court order or no warrant to come in and remove that child, it's illegal. It's considered kidnapping. Okay. I have Jeff Sessions' letter from November 2017 concerning lower courts making up their own rules. And they don't attach the proper documentation. So you can go file an appeal. You can file a motion, which I have, to dismiss all child issues. They did not have jurisdiction.
Okay, my question is, or my concern is that so many of these people have no, at least, but that's the idea I'm getting. So many of these people don't have any idea about what steps got them to adoption and what steps to watch out for as to whether they were legal. It's just like termination of rights. Her rights were terminated by a judge who made up all the reasons and took parts and pieces and put them together. And to me, it looked like he was trying to find a way to make it so that the state would accept his. But I mean, he lied. He lied all the way through it. And so
And that's fraud.
we know what to look for.
We did.
Okay.
Too.
But what state are you in?
Missouri. Yeah,
Missouri.
Missouri. Yeah, Missouri.
Okay. I can look up the laws in Missouri, okay, because every state has different laws. Like in the state of New Jersey, there's no amount of time to overturn an adoption. But Kathy Lee Arthur had said with this new law that passed, you have to wait like 18 months before you can go reapply for your child. Everything's being flipped over because of this new Bradley law. So it's just filing the proper paperwork. Okay. And right now I'm trying to do my paperwork, but I'm helping everybody by giving them the paperwork. First thing you need to do is file a civil rights complaint to Washington, D.C. And if you're disabled, you were discriminated against, so your ADA rights were violated. That's a federal law.
I have disabilities too. So.
She has disabilities and they were very much violated.
Well, I'm permanently disabled. My youngest son was born disabled with the state ID. My middle son was diagnosed autistic in our home, but they decided they were no longer disabled, okay, in June 2010. So their rights were violated. Their education was violated. They kidnapped them from their school because they knew they weren't getting them out of my house. I kicked FPS out of my house because they told me I didn't understand autism. I said, get the F out and don't come back.
Wow.
I didn't say the F word. I just said, get the F out and don't come back. Because I had St. John of God in my home for 2 years teaching me how to deal with the autism. Because I knew my middle son was disabled and they taught me how to deal with it. So I've been dealing with it since they were both born. My youngest son was never supposed to walk or talk. I taught him how to walk at 21 months. But they put him in school when he couldn't talk. His teacher actually said to me, I wish he would use his words when he got upset because the seat was changed and he threw his sneakers. I said, yeah, so do I. It's just the school systems are stealing federal funding for special needs children. So that needs to be reported. It's all, and they go after us disabled parents because they don't think we have enough guts to fight. And that's what my main specialty. I was just asked to be on public radio tonight in New Jersey, but I had a headache and everything and I couldn't go on. But he wanted me to go on because I've dealt with the autism. And that's my specialty, with special needs children and helping disabled parents. And once I get my paperwork done, I'm going to sit down and write everything up, how parents can do it, because I'm emailing parents, but then I'm noticing dads ask me, well, how do you do this? I don't have time to sit down and explain it because I'm trying to do my own paperwork. I can only do so much. So, Lyra, maybe if we can figure this out so we can maybe come up with a system so they know what to do.
Well, it seems to me like they should be, maybe it should be kind of, again, I read where listing things is one of the best ways to get people's attention. And so maybe there needs to be a list of things that you look for if you've been involved with a first adoption, and then that needs to be just posted.
And they're going to try not to give you your documentation, and they have to give it to you. That's expository evidence. Kirk's Law is on Monday and Tuesday, and Monday and Wednesday night. And they go over the rule of law and all kinds of stuff. And if I tell him that I've got a bunch of parents that need help with their disability paperwork and have ADA accommodations, he may do 2 shows to help us. Like, I know what to do, but you should be able to call ADA in Missouri and request an ADA.
We did that.
You?
Didn't we call ADA?
Yeah, we called ADA, but and I also got the put out by the Department of Justice and the Department of Health, and it's a document that is sent out to all. It's written specifically for children's what do you call it, welfare, and it tells exactly what must be done for people with disabilities. It tells everything, the way they should ask questions, and I think more people need to actually, for people with disability, I think this document needs to be sort of taught in a breakdown way so that people will understand what it says.
Well, you see, each courthouse is supposed to have an ADA advocate to help you.
Yes, they are, and none of them do, or very
Oh
few
no,
of them
New
do.
Jersey does. New Jersey does. Each
Wow,
one. I
that's good.
requested an ADA assistance, and the judge denied me.
Same here.
Okay, then not just me, but my autistic kids too.
Wow.
So that's when I told her on July 7th. I said, "You're already screwed. My son told you he wanted to live with me, who's autistic, and you violated that." I said, "You had an emergent hearing without me." And I said, "And I already know what you're going to do there." And they've removed that paperwork, but I got it.
Good.
And I was staying at the Best Western, and everyone there is going to give affidavits that they came there and tried to steal my kids. The manager said, "If you're so worried about her, she's been here since March, paying for everything." Instead, they sent me a threatening letter. Okay. And the mail threats is another fine.
Yeah. I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
And so like
Lyra, it's Lyra, please.
okay, I spent
Oh, Lyra.
Lyra, sorry. I was on Christopher Bruce's show this Monday and Tuesday. So my story is fully out there. He had me on for Warrior Wednesday.
Yes.
And then he had me on Monday to start. So, but I was asked to be on public radio tonight, and the man was really excited. He's like, "I've never had anyone like you, and you seem to know what you're talking about." But he friend requested me. He says, You seem to be involved with the family rights movement." I said, "How did you know?" He goes, "I've been following you." I said, "Okay."
Yeah. I gotta stop my screen share. I have to go to another room, but it's just there's a couple of things going on right now that are very disturbing, and I want to focus on the positive here and getting the family rights, the party together and getting everybody working together. And if they can't work together, that we find those who will work together. So I'm glad that you've joined tonight, Veronica, and I'm glad that you're helping other parents, even though you have a lot on your plate for your own case. And I really appreciate all of the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can't. There's so many parents that need help.
Yes. Yes, there are.
And I wasn't going to go on Facebook, and I posted yesterday. I said I just can't help myself.
I just wanted to say I apologize for getting up so much this evening, but somebody hacked my Facebook account, so I'm having to go back and forth between two computer stations. I got one of them fixed, but the other one not. And I was looking for that disability rights advocate. I found the paperwork on that, but that's just for the state of California anyway, so it's not going to be that helpful.
No, it's always helpful. We need it here in California too. Come on now.
Oh yeah, well I've got that information, but I seem to have left it at another one of my desks. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to mention that I'm really challenged going back and forth between computer stations this evening. So I'm
sorry to hear that.
Okay.
Well, hopefully then we'll be able to get that information from you soon. Scott, thank you so much for continuing to get things together here in California for parents with disabilities. We need help everywhere and in any form that we can get it, as long as the help is sincere and, you know, modest is the key, I think, here. But you know, we're here to help. That's the whole point of the Parent Advocate Network, is to help others, and then also to be able to talk about a strategy to provide assistance that's really going to help parents
And this is
maintain their
kind of,
rights.
I have a radio show, Lyra, that you can call. What happened?
I'm sorry.
I was wondering, okay, I have had the experience this week of Facebook deciding that, okay, two times I posted Francesca's video, and there were two other posts that were considered, that were about different things that I posted for the parents. But Facebook decided that they were spam.
Spam?
Also, that they were against their standards, in quotes, which I question. But anyway, I felt it was basically attack on me, because I see other people posting these things, and I don't see, I have been banned from posting on other sites until March the 28th, and I wrote back and I told him that what this was all about, how it was, and that we had a child that was taken, and he's been in there 4 years, but I haven't heard back, and so I'm I'm angry at Facebook, because I feel like they were discriminating, and I feel like they're attacking the rights of CPS people.
Okay, well, I hear this is what I'm feeling as far as that is concerned. I have not seen anything good about Francesca over the past few months, and she did plagiarize some of my work as well as other parent advocates' work. She has also created a contract that signs over parents' rights to their own testimony, so for her to have rights to that testimony now. And although some people don't see this in legal terms that they need to see, this is where, if you have written your story and you're still in court, okay, you no longer have rights to your case. If she's bought your testimony. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. And the other part of it is that she has a book she's been trying to sell based on her own family rights battle, and information has come out showing that she has behaved badly. She violated the custodial rights of the father who had custody of their son, and she's trying to make money off of this story that is not even a good, valid thing. So this is something that it took a lot for me to come out and say this, but I am getting loads and loads of mail, voicemails, audio, and requests saying this woman is bullying people, and she is, if you don't agree with her agenda, she's gonna kick you off and doesn't want to have anything to do with you and will badmouth you. And we don't need that in the family rights movement. We're here for the children. We're here for equal rights of all family members, and not for some personal agenda. And it is tragic that it has to come to this, because I'm an optimist. I mean, even in the Parent Advocate Network right now, we're having a discussion about who's self-serving and who's actually serving the family rights movement for the true spirit and intention that the family rights movement is supposed to uphold here, which is equality and family values and, you know, taking care of our children and building our communities back up instead of this divide and conquer. This is the oldest story in the book, divide and conquer. We are here to change that narrative. We have to. It's imperative for the survival of humanity, of our children and our children's children, and anybody who's going to try to distract from this mission is self-serving, and that's not going to help us. That's not going to help our children. It's not going to help our grandchildren. We have to be staying so focused on, you know, this. It's not just about bringing our children home. That's a big part of it, but it's not just about bringing our children home. It's about saving our families, saving the family ideology. Saving, you know, it's like there are some cultures that still are. Dale has just joined us, and Dale, please welcome. I'm kind of on a roll here, um, but we're talking about more than just, you know, bringing these children home, but saving the family structure, saving the community structure, creating and strengthening and building communities, and you know, working together as communities, not out there for me, I, myself, and I. That's the consumer model that is destroying humanity. And we're here to talk about loving people and using things, not using people and loving things. This is the core narrative here that we want to talk about changing, and we want to help everybody. But you know, the truth of the matter is we can't.
Right, I agree.
We can only help those who want to help themselves and want to work together to help everybody.
Well, I think we've got a big fight on our hands because it's all across the nation. It's the hatred and the if I don't like what you say, you're bad, and that's really scary. And I feel like all across, no matter where we go, we have to instill the fact that hate divides and kills, and love makes life thrive.
Yes. Amen to that, Marge. Amen to that. And that is one of the core beliefs we have here at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. And, you know, it's really traumatizing for me to see this divide.
Right.
Because it reminds me of my own conflict and division in my family, and how, you know, one side of the conversation didn't want to hear an alternative perspective, and you know, it's truly tragic, you know, when somebody says, well, this is what I believe, and what I believe is what matters, when really it should be we are all contributing to a belief in being more community minded, being more human, having family connections. And you know, I see all these protests, the anti-gun protests. They're there because children have grown up without their parents.
Well, it's the people. It's the people, not the. To me, it's the people that need to be changed. It's not a matter of having a gun or not having a gun. If you don't change the way people think and instill some kind of faith or belief in God, or if you don't instill care of the parents caring for the children, I don't think you're going to get anywhere. I listen to both sides, and I just think they're going the wrong direction.
This is about morals and ethics too, I think, in a core value structure, because you know, when we have morals and we instill those morals on our children, then, you know, part of those morals is caring and consideration for others and thinking about our own actions and how they're not only going to affect us, but affect others around us. And so when we make the right decisions, we know that not only are we going to have a better outcome, but people are going to respond with happiness and love and compassion, instead of anger and hatred and division. And, you know, it's a tall order, Marge. We're here to fill that order, though, as best we can.
Well, to fight CPS, it's kind of like fighting people who have a lot of hatred, it seems to me, because you can't destroy a family like they do if there's love and interest in what they're going through. It just seems like their goal is to destroy, 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 and that's got to be changed. And again, it has to be with other people. And the thing I would like to see is more people who aren't involved in it speak up, because like in my family, we've had this happen, and maybe there's 2 or 3 in my family, and I'm from a large family, but there's 2 or 3 in my family that have had that have really cared about what's going on with Michael, but the majority of them say nothing. They don't comment. They don't say, how is he? They don't say what's happening. And I feel like, in a way, my family has betrayed me.
Wow, I feel your pain there, Marge. I feel that, and yeah, it is. We put trust in government. We put trust in people who are here, have supposedly made an oath to protect and serve the people, to honor the Constitution, and to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner in accordance with those laws and rights that all American citizens have. And they don't. And it's truly heartbreaking. It is a betrayal.
I don't really see how we're going to succeed if we don't get the people who think this isn't going to happen to them. If we don't get them to realize what's happening, and not, it's like, I feel like some of my family have looked at my daughter as having done something wrong since she got involved with CPS, and she did nothing wrong. It wasn't anything about her that actually started all this. But that thinking of, well, if CPS is involved, you must have done something wrong, is still there.
Yeah, that stigma, you know, it's very prevalent in our society, stereotyping. You know, victims of domestic violence are still stereotyped, and in my own situation, you know, the anger management lady said, well, it must have been something you said that caused him.
Yeah.
That must have triggered him. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, didn't you just say that there is no reason for a man to physically abuse a woman or even verbally abuse them? Like, wait a minute, that really is not making any sense. So, you know, it's true that these people who are employed have been selected because they fit a profile. And that profile does not include compassion for the parents going through these traumatic situations a lot of the time. I'm sure that there have been those that have gotten through without that, and there have been other times, I'm sure, where it has been more fair, but in this present time, and this is one of the signs I, put together, was to saying, stop subsidized child trafficking, reform social services. Not just CPS, because CPS is a part of the social services department, but it's the whole department, because when I went through the welfare program, I was stereotyped from the beginning, and they started looking into my life, and I became tagged as a possible victim of their seizure of my children, which happened. So, and it was why? Because I asked for financial aid for my family because I couldn't do it myself. And my husband was at that time not capable of doing anything either. And, we're supposed to be able to rely on these services without feeling that we're going to be incriminated for something we haven't done, for poverty. Poverty is a fact of this country. It's a fact of this world. How can you become a criminal just because you're poor? I mean, how does that even work?
Well, it's aimed at the CPS is aimed at are getting people that have disabilities and are poor into the program so they can get money.
Yeah. Well, Dale, you haven't spoken tonight, and I want to welcome you to tonight's show. I'm glad you've made it.
I'm really happy to be here, and my schedule's set so that routinely from now on at 7 o'clock. I was under the impression that the show started at 7:30. Otherwise, I would have joined earlier. And I finally got to Messenger and found out how to get on the platform. So everything's good. But I want to, we got to look around, and we got to really thank the universe for this thing that's happening with the sick, finding a cure for the sickness of violence, and with the kid, and it, out of the mouths of babes, these kids are all over the country are the brightest spot in the world right now, and so what we have is we have an epidemic of violence, and that spreads everywhere, and and it's ingrained in our, it's pandemic and contagious. It's a contagion, and it's a pathogen that's destroying us. So, I always talk about models, and so we say, how in all this madness do we find some common sense? And we're like Diogenes in Greece, and in ancient Greece, running around with a lantern lit in the day to find an honest man. Well, we're trying to find out what the truth is. So I look around in the world today, and I have my Australia hat, okay, and it's like a hat of common sense. They had one mass murder with a military assault weapon. So the whole country got together and said, all it took is one in Australia, and they got rid of assault weapons and they banned guns, and that's the only mass murder that they've had since then. And this was in the 90s. So I've got my common sense hat on, my Australia hat, okay, and I'm keeping it on until we get some common sense in our country, because there is no common sense. Everywhere you look, including in our court systems and our family services systems, wherever you look, it's diseased with violence. Law enforcement, our international relationships, where we got people, spitting missiles at each other or threatening to, and so it's horrific. Now, the bright news, Okay, what do we do? Okay, and so I've been busy trying to put these models together, and so what we have to do is create an oxymoron. We have to create a sanctuary for families, and we the way we do this is we create a homeless anonymous. Okay, and then the next step is to get these families in a sanctuary where they're not part of the system, and it always lands on the doorsteps of the churches. And so, as a sanctuary, if we get the title to the land and deed it to the UFK, United Faithers of Cosman Church, or a church of your choice, and we get the property, and we get control of the property, deed it to the church, then they operate a church, a church of your choosing.
Earth
And then,
Soul Ministries.
yeah, well, the UFK is a faith-based religion. They're already a 501c3. So under the church, then we can operate on the property would be tax-free. Okay, so we don't have to worry about property taxes. Then the next step on top of that is to create a 501c3 to operate so that we can receive donations and spend money. And that could be Homeless Anonymous. Now, so then we build these sanctuary homes. We can do it all over the country. That 501c3 can operate internationally if it has to. But right now we got to start models in the United States. So, and I think taking these families in a place where they don't have to give their name, their social security number, or anything, they just live in the house. And then the third component is to get the life coaches, the people that are present there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that that resource that the family needs for restoration and resurrection is there in the house, the social structure and guidance so this is all coming together very fast. And the next step, Lyra, is for us to start functioning anonymously on a conference call platform, so that we get the officers in place and function as a nonprofit with a secretary treasurer who takes the minutes, and we elect the officers, and we start building the format for the nonprofit, and then we can start selecting the first place that we build the sanctuary and get a hold of the property. So.
Yeah, I've been working on some of this, Dale, and we have several people who are members. You're included, Scott's included, MIM's included, for the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families and Earth Soul Ministries.
I was gonna suggest that we use the Diamonds platform that Sunny and I had, Voices for an Alternative World. Use that conference call number, but don't record it. Just elect the officers to do the specific things. Like in this case, just keep the minutes and keep a record of business, old business, new business, and future business, and start the discussion. Okay, where are we going to plant our first sprout, and how the process. Go through the process of building a support network where people don't have to worry if they have money or have jobs. This is the new paradigm. We have to do things. Thousands of years ago, somehow the human race managed to live without money, without title, without law, and they did things in a community effort by council, and they just made a decision, ad hoc decision based on the community's needs. And it was either kept between the individuals and their conscience. When it rose to the level of a community issue, then the community got involved, and we discussed it and they looked at it and said, well, what do we think is the best thing to do? And the several alternatives were put up, and then one was decided on. And if it didn't work out, guess what? Nobody's at fault. We tried to do something, it didn't work, and we try something else. And we do it as a group. The group that we're involved in this particular case is Coalition for Protection of Families, and we're going to provide the sanctuaries and provide the place and provide the we're going to depend on we're going to develop our skills and depend on ourselves. As far as we know, there is no government, and for all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist. So the government is us. We are the ones we've been looking for.
There is a government.
It's not a part of, it's a part of the corporation. The government is a construct of the corporation of the United States of America. We as sovereign citizens of our country have our right to self-govern.
Yeah, well, this is the confusion. The fact that you were born, you were already given an algorithm to follow, and somebody took it away from you and said, you got to do this. At the end of it, first of all, thousands of years ago, it was a club. Then it turned into a spear, and then gunpowder was discovered, and now they've got a gun. And so, and a little bit further down the line in the 20th century, all of a sudden we have a nuclear bomb that can destroy the world. So now one nation is bullying another. So I mean, we got to change all this at its foundation in the bone marrow, and it's a step-by-step process, and so we got to start someplace. And so let's start on a conference call and get an organization together and build it brick by brick, idea by idea, without written law. Because you know what? We might decide to do one thing today, and a week from now we say, well, that was absolutely horrid. At the time we thought it was all good, but when we get some new information, we can't change anything because we're stuck with the law. So let's run the world with ideas that have been vetted and agreed upon by the community, and then move forward.
People die all the time. An idea persists forever.
Yes, absolutely.
Kelly, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was going to say the government, or our government here in the United States is messed up, but we, the people, have to fix it. But we, like right now, I think there's been, I heard like something on the, yesterday on the news, they were talking about like if you take your children to the dentist. And this is kind of a stupid idea, but if a parent takes their child to a dentist and they want to know, they want to make sure their child's teeth are clean and everything. Well, they were talking about on the news. Last night, they were saying that if your child doesn't have, or if your child's teeth are not clean and all that stuff, and the dentist is gonna call a CPS. So I was thinking, wait a minute. I said, why? I was like, what is going on here with this stupid system and this stupid government?
It started with a letter from it's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Sent out a letter.
And I was thinking, why? What is going on here?
Well, it was decided, and this, Jeffrey, they had this conversation when, in the Continental Congress with all the former authors of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, that you are, you never give anybody the power to tax, period. That's the first mistake.
I know, but we the people are supposed to be the be the government, not
Okay.
some other people.
Well, the other thing about leadership,
not CPS and everything.
the other thing about leadership, Kelly, is it never give mortals who are fatally flawed the power to lead. Okay, the only thing you can count on is we all look together at an idea. Okay.
I understand, but right now we have a president. Yeah, there's
Okay, well, right now all we have is us right here, you and your
No,
mom.
I'm talking about the government, not
Okay,
not.
well, I'm saying what we have to do is get the idea that all we have is each other. All we have is God, family, and friends.
But we have the president too. We have a president
What we have here, I believe this is a lost in translation. So Kelly, what Dale is attempting to explain here is that as our own entity, those of us who are right here in the Parent Advocate Network talking about this very concept, this is ours.
I understand.
Okay, there are factors outside of our ability to control things that we can't do anything about. Therefore, it takes too much time for us to worry about that which we cannot control. The AA prayer, God grant me the courage to change to the things I can, the wisdom or the knowledge to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right, I understand that, but I thought you guys were talking about the government of here in America.
Kelly, what do you have faith in?
I have faith in God.
Do you have faith in the government and the leaders and the laws? Okay.
Well, yes, in a way we do, because I follow Trump. Trump is our president. Yes, there may be some things I might not like about what he's doing, but there's some things I do like what he's doing. But he's trying to help all of us here in America. He's trying to protect us and protect our government.
Well, that you have to operate on what makes sense to you. Okay. So if following Trump, if you really believe that, then what you have to do is you have to take that belief and you have to own it. You say, I'm going to follow President Trump. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now I grew up in Alaska. Okay, there was no government. There was the land, I had the air, I had the water. Well, this is back in the 50s. I'm 68 now. I had the air, I had the land, I had the water, and I had the earth. And it took care of me. Not President Trump. The trees gave me the oxygen.
Right.
The water gave me my sustenance to crystal clear, pure glacial water.
Right, I understand that.
Well, so Trump hasn't done anything for me. He doesn't give me my oxygen. He doesn't give me water. He doesn't.
But he's trying to protect our country right now. Right now, we are at war with.
This is another thing. Okay. This is
doesn't like us.
Kelly, this is another thing. Okay.
But that's part of the government.
Do you put your faith? Where do you put your faith and security? Do you put your faith in guns and nuclear arms and because we're less secure now than we've ever been with all of that. So it's like the NRA saying, well, the answer to the gun violence is more guns. And so you have to say, I felt secure in Alaska because all my needs were taken care of. And I didn't have any enemies and I wasn't at war with anybody. So what this government does is create
right now, a lot of people don't want to live in reality, and there's a lot of people that do live that live in reality and that don't live in reality. The people that
Well,
don't
see,
live in
the
reality.
reality that you choose to live in, the reality you choose. I say, if this is what you understand and this is what you want to do, I have no conflict with that. If you want to put your faith in President Trump and nuclear battle groups and nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and nuclear missiles, and that makes you secure, then you got to do that.
I understand.
I don't need Trump or nuclear arms or gun rights. I don't. Me personally, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you to live like I do. I'm just saying, all I need is my creator, and the infinite ideas of the universe. They're all around me, and the next best one. So I'm saying, Kelly, remember, before there was a republic, there was a monarchy, and before there was a monarchy, there was feudalisms, and before that, we followed animals. So.
Okay, I'm 30 years old.
Are we at the zenith? Is everything perfect? That is the republic the absolute best, highest thing that we can do?
What?
Well, I tell you,
Is this the end? Is this the all end? Is this as far as we can go? Is Trump and the rule of law and eminent domain?
Right now, Trump is our president. We have to honor.
I'm saying this is a construct. This government.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I want to acknowledge that Kelly feels a little bit distressed about what you are saying, and perhaps this is a little too much information.
Well, no, I think Lyra, I think this is a choice that Kelly has to come up with. That we're not.
I don't have to come up with right now. My faith is in God, and plus I'm trying. I do follow what's going on in this world. I am up to date with what's going on in this world, and there's a lot of people that don't. And what's going on in this world it's crazy and it's stupid, and I really want to change it, and I keep on praying, God, please change this world and get back to and let us get our children back and everything. That's what I'm angry about.
Well,
yes, okay.
It's a choice. It's a choice, Kelly. Okay. You can't have it both ways. You can't.
I'd like
Dale,
to throw.
Dale, please, I'm asking you again. I don't think that this is appropriate. I believe Kelly is very distressed about this, and this is something that maybe she's not ready to talk about.
I'd like to.
Go for it, Scott.
I'd like to throw in my view for a perspective that might bring some balance to this conversation. For example, I strongly believe in my Second Amendment rights because I don't trust the people who are governing me, and yeah, I'm hoping that Trump's going to do a good job and all that. And I don't believe, I hear what Lyra said earlier about dividing and conquering, and I certainly don't want to support any of that. But I don't have the trust that I'm willing to, give up my Second Amendment rights, because what I do hear him saying that I agree with is I have me, I have you, I believe in you guys, I believe you got my back, and that's why the idea of us pulling together and doing what we can do to make a difference, I think, is the focus we need to stay with and really not lose sight of.
This is an important issue, and here's what I think. Second Amendment rights are kind of, they're kind of an oxymoron, because if we're trying to protect ourselves from a government that with automatic weapons or what have you, if the people become a threat to the government, they've already got the weapons in place to wipe out millions of people without doing one bit of physical damage. So the idea that you're going to overthrow this,
No, I'm not talking about automatic weapons, and I'm not talking about overthrowing. I'm just personal.
Wait,
Revenge.
Dale, can you please
If it's impossible to defend ourselves against this government, if it decides, like Trump decides the media is the enemy of the people, okay, and he takes it on himself and he gets the support of Congress to destroy the media, that's done in 30 seconds. And all the people in it.
No, I agree, but so let's talk about something else.
Okay,
yes,
so
please.
and it comes down to
Thank you.
It's coming down to this is what we have to do, is come to the issue of what we really want, what we really believe, what we really are going to do. So the confliction is, Kelly, when I say you can't have it both ways, if you're going to have faith in the law, okay, then whatever the law does, and whoever enforces it and takes your kids away, that's that. If that's determined, that's the law, then you have to live with that consequence.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Now, I'm gonna bring this back to CPS and as far as the law is concerned and what we're talking about here in bringing children home. And it's not just in CPS cases, but this is a big part of what we're talking about here in the Parent Advocate Network at this time. And we need to be focusing on that kind of discussion in these meetings because parents are relying on us to be able to provide information to deal with this current institution. We do need to have another private meeting, like you were saying, Dale. I totally agree with that, and we can do that separately. And I appreciate all of your intentions and all of your input here. It is very welcome, and we want to keep on sharing and helping parents learn their rights as parents with disabilities, as parents that are just parents needing some help and are not expecting the people in social services to take their children away from them because they are having problems and need some assistance. We talk about how we want to promote better education in the school system to provide for the next generation of parents to have the skills that parents of this generation have lacked in this education system. And we want to help parents who are currently going against CPS because their children have been removed wrongfully. And rights are definitely something everybody needs to read up on, and we talk about how important it is to learn what the laws actually are as far as the SDM manual for the nation and also the state SDM manuals, and this is the laws and regulations for the Department of Children and Families, CPS department, what they have to do. One of those things that actually Veronica was talking about earlier in tonight's meeting is regarding how parents with disabilities have a right and are supposed to get an ADA representative in the courtroom to assist them in representing them, and that this has not been the case, has not been happening, and judges have been denying parents this right. And these are some of the civil rights that parents need to learn. And if their rights have been violated, as Marge was saying, we need to be coming up with a firm plan of action for parents to follow, to file the appeals, to file the different complaints, where to go, what complaints, what damages claims they can file, and who with, and start bringing children back home and start reaffirming parents' rights all over the country. And so, yes.
I have a question on the new the law that Trump signed that was put out by the Florida senator. Yeah. Okay. We have posted that, but with myself, I don't quite understand everything that's covered under, and I'd like to see kind of a breakdown of what's becoming law and how it's affecting us, because it's, I don't know, because I really right now don't know what that law does for us.
Okay, well, I remember you sharing it with me, and I'm attempting to pull it up now, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that at this.
No. What I'm saying is that I would like to see us try to get somebody to that's knowledgeable about the law to kind of go over it and take it apart, so then kind of point out the parts that are effective and what we need to do with that law in place. Who do we need to contact if someone is breaking that law, and then also when does the law go into effect?
Yeah, right. That's a very good question, and we need to start pulling out these different laws and getting some legal insight into these and how they affect families in not only the state of Florida, but
yeah, when you're going over all of this, it seems to me like, I mean, we know all the places we need to go, but how are we going to get there? How are we going to break it down so there's people that can work on different sections and organize it? Right now it's kind of broad, and I know you have a lot of ideas. I just was thinking about the people that don't understand most of that are involved with the parents.
Well, it's really simple, and let me explain this. What we need is revenue streams to pay for attorneys. Okay, you need hundreds of millions of dollars, and okay, it's obvious that the conversation that's going to take place is in building this nonprofit to create these revenue streams. So people that are distressed and in the system can have legal advice and have an advocate in the courtroom.
Where do you go? Where do you go get it? Where do you go get it?
I don't want to open that. We're that's another conversation. We're putting the board together to create these entities that are going to create the income, so that those people that want to fight in the court system and need to fight in the court system have the legal representation, adequate legal representation to do it.
we have some lawyers that are already on board all across the nation. If you go to the page that I shared, Anonymous versus CPS DCS, I'm going to bring it up again. We actually have lawyers that will look into these cases case by case basis. We're requesting you provide your testimonials to this secure email address, and the appropriate actions will be taken. This is a secure email, so nobody is going to be getting your private information. We do need some things like the date your children were taken, the case numbers that are all of them, whether they were in the county court, the state court, or federal court, and then also the names and ages of your children and a testimony of the civil rights violations that you have suffered at the hands of social services departments. the collusion that may have occurred with attorneys and judges and other gals and other people involved in your CPS case.
Lyra, would that be considered a deposition? In other
Well,
words, you're actually giving your story, and it's a legal document that they can.
yeah, I
Okay.
suppose. I
Yeah.
suppose it could be considered a deposition, or like they call them testimonials. They call them, like I did a damages claim and I had to provide all of the information about my case, and then I filed it with the board of directors in my county. And so that was actually a really short document. It named the people who committed crimes against me of civil rights violations and what those civil rights violations were. It didn't really talk about my visitation, so like a declaration is more a statement of facts, what the history was, and then what happened when the case was opened and throughout the case, whereas a testimonial is a little shorter, I think, and just
Kelly,
speaks of the
where are you in
violation.
that process?
Uh,
Where are you in that legal process? Have you?
Right now, we just had a
Hearing.
I had a hearing on the termination of rights. Plus, we had the appeal case too. So we're just like up in the air right now, waiting to see what those judges has decided too, and all that.
But
so
we
right
also-
now, that's where we're
right
at right now.
Right now, we're also waiting on the fact that since our case involves the Constitution and also the ADA, we're waiting on to see if it will be taken to the Missouri Supreme Court, which our attorney wanted.
Yeah.
So that's what we're waiting on.
well, let's hope that happens.
The thing. So you've got legal representation, and the process is before the judge now, waiting for a judgment, so the attorney can decide whether to take it further or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're waiting for the judge to decide.
Whether the judge is going to decide it or whether they're going to pass it on to the Supreme Court.
Right.
To
Because it's an appeal.
Have you? So you haven't exhausted all your remedies yet.
No,
Like
because
what?
we're totally. There's a bunch of remedies that are offered, but we're not sure which way to go. And the forms there's the forms that have been discussed, and then I don't see anything more about them. So I'm kind of lost in the next step, except I know that we do want to bring it under the federal law and not just the state.
Yes, that's where you want to go, is federal, and there's a lot of information to go through. But if you have at least listed what the offenses are of civil rights violations and who violated your civil rights, and like a statement of facts with proof, then you can go from there. You can go and file criminal charges against whoever the offenders were in federal court.
I guess one of the things and my lawyers haven't touched on this, but one of the things that was really the problem is that Children's Mercy Hospital here in Kansas City somehow got in contact with with Missouri Division of Family Services, and the Missouri Division of Family Services, a caseworker or probably social worker, kept contacting Children's Mercy Hospital for about 6 weeks before Michael was taken, and they were working on a way to set it up so that they could take Michael away from Kelly by proving that she was incompetent. But this was set up by Children's Mercy Hospital. But the judge, the commissioner, I should say, my nephew was was Kelly's attorney at the time. He filed a motion to include Children's Mercy Hospital, and he was pointing out that they were more or less acting like the state and not really a hospital. And he had all the evidence, but the commissioner denied his motion. And so this has happened, but the lawyers have not done anything with that. They just let the blame fall on Kelly, and actually the blame wasn't on Kelly. The blame was Children's Mercy Hospital was trying to establish that Kelly was mentally incompetent, and also they put her under a 72-hour watch in which she was to take care of everything for Michael on her own, and they kept criticizing, well, she didn't do this, she didn't do that, she doesn't know how to do this. Well, she was at 26, this was her first child. She hadn't all the experience, plus she was still at the state where a new mother is getting her strength back. But that wasn't important. The goal was, and they were even threatening her to call DFS if she couldn't show that she was able to take care of all of this. So I don't know.
I think you really got a good case, Kelly, and I really feel like they did you wrong, you know.
Yeah, I know that they did.
This was like what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to give medicine. She was supposed to give, and this was, and as I said, she's a new mother, and she was supposed to make sure she changed the diapers. She was supposed to fill the bottles. She was supposed to make sure that she did the formula right. And if she spilled any formula, they was criticized for that. So that I would say if I had to make the bill, I would say I would refuse to pay because nothing was being done by Children's Mercy. It was all put on her back.
Well, are you confident that your attorney is completely engaged in your case, and or do you have some concerns about being represented properly?
We have some concerns because they refused to. First of all, they refused to bring the what Children's Mercy Hospital had to do with it. Then they also there's the fact that you have to have the warrant with the probable cause, and there's 3 or 4 other things, but which they didn't have. But they wouldn't go for that. They said, well, that was before we entered the case. So that's already taken care of. And right now I've been reading across the country where, like in California, somebody got, and I'm not for the money, but they were awarded $800,000 because DFS hadn't, or CPS, whatever it is, hadn't given a warrant with the proper information on it when they took the children. But no, my attorneys wouldn't touch that.
In my personal case, I didn't get anywhere at all in my litigation, protracted litigation, until I got a guy who really understood the law, and then ended up suing the Attorney General and the governor and the Nursing Board of California. And so, it takes, and one thing attorneys are really reluctant to do is make enemies in the court system, because they can easily be disbarred on a whim and lose their license. And so if you're fighting with a shrinking violet that doesn't want to do battle with and kill dragons, you're in a bad place. And I just had the experience personally. So the first thing you got to do is get an attorney that's willing to be your advocate, unconditional, and is totally going to fight for you, and completely, without any reservations, no matter who the adversary is, including President Trump. the Congress or you're fighting for your constitutional rights. So this is you got to have an attorney that's willing to put his life on the line for you, so to speak. After I found that individual that was willing to fight the battle and not be afraid of his own personal interests, or losing his membership at the country club with the judge that's hearing your case. There's all kinds of unseen things that go on here that the client isn't aware of all the time. So I'm not criticizing any attorney, but there are all these relationships, professional relationships, and they compromise, and they compromise your interests, and that's just the way the legal game is played. So, having said that, you've got to be ready to really, really, really battle this. And if you're not satisfied with the attorney that you've got, and you're not making any headway, and you're getting a lot of mouth but no action, then you might consider looking for another attorney. Because that's what I had to do. Until I finally find a guy who says, well, I was at a loss. What are we going to do? He said, well, I'm going to sue the governor. If he had to go further than that, Bill would have taken it. The only reason he didn't go further and have a class action suit against these governing agencies was because my daughter didn't want to take it any further. She was made whole, and she was restored, and we needed her participation in a class action suit along with all these other clients he had, and she just wanted her life back. Like, Kelly, you just want your kid back,
Right.
And but you still got to, even if it's just you want your kid back, you still got to find the guy or the woman who's going to go to war with you.
I understand, but I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Like,
well,
where do I go
and this Lyra mentioned there is a group of attorneys, and you've just got to find one, and maybe Lyra knows one that she can recommend, or get a referral from somebody, an attorney that she knows that operates in your jurisdiction.
Well, like to me, I need someone helping me to find a good lawyer that can take this case now.
And we are looking and starting to organize and bring lawyers in different states, and soon Pamela will be publishing some of that list, and hopefully there will be somebody in Missouri that can help you.
And I apologize for going off the reservation and not sticking to the focus of this meeting, okay? Because what we're talking about is something else in another place.
Yes, that's right. And thank you, Dale, for understanding and recognizing that we do need to keep some
yeah, absolutely.
Not division, but
these are real people with children that have
organizational. Yeah, we want to make sure to help. This is what we do here at the Parent Advocate Network, and what we want to do is help and establish, like Marge is saying, a roadmap to assist parents and families to reunite children with their parents, to reunite children with their grandparents if they can't be reunited with their parents, that there are laws, there are regulations in federal jurisdiction that overturn anything that a state may want to claim is the rule of law. It is not. And we, as citizens of this country, until we have a different system, which we're working to put together, but until we have that in place, we still need to work within the structure that is the broken system and try to regain our rights as parents, as citizens of this country. So,
Yeah.
You know, we'll keep on working with the list. I showed you a little bit of what we have on the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families, and you know, it's just a beginning list of where parents can go, how they can protect themselves before any intervention by social services department, and also steps to take at the beginning process and some of the steps at the end of the process. And we need to continue working on this and bringing more information to light for more parents. So thank you very much.
Okay. What if we somehow put together a okay, basically I was thinking might help us decide what we need to focus on by the questions the parents might ask, like, you know, what is it they want to know in order to, you know, they could even say, well, I really don't know where to start. Okay, that gives you an idea of where to start with that, with those people that come up with that. Or they might say, well, like there's probably about 8 or 9, maybe more, grandparents that were talking about how their grandchildren were taken and adopted, and they were adopted without being told. And so, okay, what do they want to know about what they can do, or do they need it, or do they think, what do they think the situation is? Do they think the situation is that, okay, they're adopted, there's nothing more we can do? Okay, and then maybe from that it will give us an idea of who knows that there's a choice and who knows there isn't a choice, so that we kind of know, so we can start looking to going back to what what things what things happened that came up to the adoption, and were they all legal, or were there things that would throw out the adoption?
And I would like to just add to that a little bit of what I have learned for grandparents is that there are certain states that have grandparents' rights. One of them is Louisiana. Actually, their grandparents' rights are more recognized than parents' rights in the state of Louisiana. And so any grandparent out there that has any questions like that should begin by looking in their state laws to see if there are grandparents' rights in the state laws. And also I know in the recent legislation that came through, family first placement, that is a part of the plan. And as far as I know, it was instated just in the past few months and is valid and legal. I don't know if you can go back using the new legislation back and take it back years ago or what. We need to start looking into these things more seriously and educate ourselves so that we can help educate others in the process.
I know that California had made a change with grandparents' rights within the last few years, because I had a woman come to me and her son had passed and her stepdaughter had custody of her grandson and she couldn't even see him. And we searched for grandparents' rights on the internet and stuff, and there just wasn't any. But later on, a few years back, I did a search and bang, grandparents' rights. We found them. So, you know, I don't know all the particulars, but I do know that things can improve, and they did for her in that area.
That's good.
Thank you, Scott. That's good news for grandparents in California. So, I mean, you know, it's, I think, a case-by-case basis, and we have a lot of work ahead of us, that's for sure. And so, you know, just if you get a chance, please go and visit the coalitionforprotection.com. And under most frequently asked questions, there are some questions that have been answered, but of course there are many more that need to be answered. And if you see something that is not included in this list, feel free to send us a request. We have at the bottom of our page, contact us, and you can add information there and suggestions, questions, recommendations, and from there we will attempt to get it out as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Kelly, you've been quiet here for a while. Was there anything you would like to add to the conversation?
No, not really. No, I just been kind of, I don't know. Well, trying to deal with well, lately I've been like feeling distressed and everything a lot, but that's and I'm sorry that I was a little bit under stressed tonight too, but
Well, that's honestly my fault for taking a conversation somewhere it didn't need to go and not focusing on really with the concerns of the people in this room, and that's the families and the children, and how we work within the system.
Normally I'm not under. Normally, like during these meetings, I'm not like that, and but
My
tonight,
problem, Kelly. My problem.
no, it's not totally your fault. It's
But real seriously,
Well,
my
I
problem
noticed
is
that.
I've got this great idea. I've got this great idea for an airplane, right? Wonderful idea. I've worked out the details, and then I've just got to build the airplane. And I'm trying to tell people, hey, I got an airplane. We can fly. And they can't see it, okay? Because I haven't built it yet. So that's what the model. So I'm talking about something in the abstract that has yet to be put together that people can see and understand.
right.
And that's my fault, you know.
But
Scott?
Kelly, I would just,
Like lately,
you know,
go
I was
ahead.
trying to give you some support because, you know, I really sense that you have been distressed and emotional, and I just want to acknowledge that I know it's hard for you, and I want to encourage you because I think you're doing so many of the right things, and I just want to encourage you.
Thank
Really,
you. Thank
I
you
do.
very much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, like tonight and then last night and then there was a couple other days too. I've been like I've had nervous breakdowns, like where I like cry and well I feel like I'm about to cry too, but I try not to show it.
It's not a nervous breakdown. You're letting your feelings out. Okay? I do the same thing. But if you want to connect with me, Kelly, I can help you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? I had a disabled brother who's paranoid schizophrenic. I've got bipolar. I have PTSD. I've got 2 disabled boys with autism. I specialize with special needs and disabled parents helping. So I'm more than happy to help you. Okay? We can take. You're welcome.
I really do appreciate it.
Oh, I have no problems. I can't pronounce it.
It's Lyra. Think Lyra.
Lyra. Yeah, she knows I love helping people, and Kelly, I want to help you so you can understand.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have a case law that says, nonetheless, we have recognized that state is not without constitutional control over parental discretion in dealing with children when their physical or mental health is jeopardized. Moreover, the court recently declared unconstitutional a state statute that granted parents an absolute veto over a minor child's decision to have an abortion. Planned Parenthood of Central Missouri. Appellates urged that these precedents limiting the traditional rights of parents, if viewed in the contents of the liberty interest of the child and likelihood parental abuse, required us to hold the parent's decision to have a child admitted to a mental hospital must be subjected to an exacting constitutional scrutiny, including a formal. So you cannot lose your child because of your mental IQ, your disability, nothing. It's federally against the law, although they do it all the time.
Right. Right.
So in the federal, again, we're going federal here, and you can.
Well, no, this is just know your rights.
Yeah, know your
Right.
rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying it's literally the ADA Act of 1990. We're federally protected.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. And yet we have judges all over the country denying us our rights. And this is why I'm saying it sounds like we have to be taking that to a federal level.
Well, the very first thing that Judge did was said that, in his reasoning of did he take her rights away, he said that she had a mental illness that could not be corrected very shortly, so that she was not capable of taking care of her son.
And yep.
That was documented in quotes by a psychologist and a neuropsychologist who only saw her maybe 3 hours and did not give her any opportunity to have accommodations for her disability. But that's what he decided.
Yeah, I've had my own doctor since 2004. They made me, and I didn't make it to the first one, go see theirs. I just realized that they found me a Title 30 unfit. I said, how the hell's that? Because she drew out all this other stuff, but realized she violated my federal civil rights because she charged me child support. And I was on Social Security disability and had no income.
Yeah.
So she knew she was in trouble.
Right.
What about the disability?
Huh?
Are you saying that, I mean, maybe I misunderstood.
I'm on Social Security disability because I'm permanently disabled, but I didn't have any income at the time. But I was charged $252 a week. The next judge changed it to TANF.
That's what they did to her.
Yeah, that's what
She
they're
didn't
doing.
have she didn't have the finances. So they said, well, okay, she has to pay $50 a month anyway.
How do I? Yeah.
Did you have any income?
No.
Okay, you got to take that back. You got to, okay, I'm going to, Marge, do I have your email?
What?
Do I have your email?
Does she have
Okay. Maybe.
No, okay. Or I can email the appeal Jeff Sessions letter to Lyra.
Lyra.
Lyra. Okay. Okay, you need to file an appeal. Okay, because that's illegal. You have no income, and that's going to go through right away. And that will be the start of proving fraud on your case.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I want you to do. File a civil rights complaint.
But how do
Where do we get that?
Yeah, where do we get
I have all the paperwork.
Okay.
She's going to send it to me, and we'll get it going.
Yeah. Unless Kelly wants to friend request me or whatever, and then I can email to her or her mom.
Okay.
It's Veronica.
Yeah.
Ferguson, right?
Veronica Ferguson.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I think we are friends on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah,
So just send her a request. Well, we're at the last 6 minutes of tonight's meeting, and I just want to wrap it up with thanking everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you, Veronica, for all of the information and assistance you have provided tonight. I hope more parents learn their rights and are able to defend their rights under the Constitution of the United States and file the appeals and the damages complaints, and we're going to put together a more thorough plan of action for parents to take in order to get their children back and get their rights back. So thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night. God bless.
Thank you.
God bless you. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Uh,
Bye.
I'm trying to unmute you there, Dale.
okay, yeah. Hey, Scott,